Listen, hey, here's something on a more lighter note. This, for those of you who don't know, this nostalgia kick that this PodCo, Christy Carlson Romano.
What are we doing?
Company, her and her husband, a few years ago. For those of you who don't know, Christy Carlson Romano, you know, she's the voice of Kim Possible. She's on Even Stevens, Disney Channel star. I think they tried to give her a music career, but it didn't work. So she didn't become like the Miley Cyrus, Selena Gomez. She didn't become that level of a Disney female star, okay?
What are we doing?
And so early, like during COVID, I think, 2020, I think it was, 2021, she started making these hiking, these forest videos of her hiking. And she was talking about like where all her money went from Disney, why she doesn't talk to Shia LaBeouf, friends in the industry, how Hollywood work, and this little mini series of her walking through the woods, poor cameraman having to walk backwards for 30 minutes straight while she explains how herself and her parents and everyone else that she knows spent all of her fucking Disney money.
What are we doing?
So they went viral. And so off of this virality, she thought, wow, look at me, the Disney star, the nostalgia, they love me still. What if we brought all of the nostalgia that hasn't been brought back to the podcast realm, because these kids aren't doing anything. It's COVID. They're not working. Let's bring back the non-rebooted shows in effort to get eyeballs of the fans, aka me and you, us. We all watched them. We all watched Even Stevens, Ned's Declassified, School Survival Guide, Wizards of Waverly Place, okay? Pretty Little Liars. Like, we all watched those shows growing up as young teenagers, of course. Like, so we all grew up with the Disney Channel, so why not capture us and then not only capture the attention of the big studios? Holy shit. Look at this nostalgia of Ned's Declassified. Look at this nostalgia of Wizards of Waverly Place. Look at the nostalgia of all these shows that's getting all these millions of views and eyeballs on social media at launch. So now we can pitch around new shows and redos and reboots for shows that haven't gotten them. And with CCR, Christy Carlson Romano, we're going to call her CCR because her name's too long.
What are we doing?
The name's too long. Change it, CCR. So CCR says when they inevitably get those deals and when they inevitably get those reboots, we're going to be there as their power of attorney, their reason that they got the reboot in the first place. We want a percentage.
What are we doing?
And so I'm assuming that was the business model. So we kick it off with the Wizards of Waverly Place. We kick it off with Ned's Declassified. And out the gate swinging, these are coming in hot, okay? Everyone's like, holy shit, Ned's Declassified. I loved it. It was a great show when it was on.
What are we doing?
So these three now adults, Devon, Lindsey, and what's his freaking name? The poor man. I forget his name every time. Devon, Lindsey, and Curtis. Our buddy Curtis. So Devon, Lindsey, and Curtis, the three main cast members as Ned, Cookie, and Mose, I think were their names, on the Ned's Declassified, I think Nickelodeon show, come together for this podcast. It gets 1 million views out the gate. PodCo's behind it. It's Christy Carlson Romano. It's such a
What are we doing?
And so we're swinging. We're swinging out the gates. Ned's Declassified's doing great. So we're going to start Wizards. We're going to start Pretty Little Liars. We're going to start all the shows that we want to get rebooted, a podcast. And we're going to bring back some of the cast members, some of the people who were involved in the show to host them. Now, CCR also has a few other podcasts of her own that she does, of course, and her own YouTube channel. So that was all now being ran through this nostalgia podcasting company network that they called PodCo. And for a while, it was great because the format of the show is like every other nostalgia rewatch show. Jenna Fisher and the Office Girls watch through podcasts.
What are we doing?
They watch every episode, and then they come podcast about it, and they give us behind the scenes and what they were feeling that day, and it's the same stupid format over and over and over again. And so the issue is, with these Nickelodeon shows, what we don't remember as children, because Nick just reran them every freaking day for years and years and years and years and years and years and years on end.
What are we doing?
And what we didn't realize as children is that most of these shows, Zoe 101, Ned's Declassified, Wizard, they only actually ever had 2 to 3, sometimes if they got lucky, 4 actual seasons.
What are we doing?
And so, with that said, it only takes, and the season, maybe sometimes 10, sometimes 20 episodes, depending on the network and how much they ordered. It's only going to take us a year, 2, to episode 50 to 60 to episode 100 until we're out of episodes to review.
What are we doing?
So naturally, what all of these review and TV podcasts are realizing is we have now got to recapture the audience and do a slight rebrand of the podcast, and it may or may not work because you can't just stop. They've got advertisers, they got sponsors, they got to keep PodCo's lights on. We've got people to pay. I'm sure CCR has a hefty salary. I'm sure her husband also requires money monthly.
What are we doing?
And so, we got to pay the host, we got to pay the people, we got to pay production and the servers and the hosting and the cost. It's a lot to run a studio, okay? I'm in the midst of building my own. I'm in the midst of partnering. I know what it's going to take, and that's why we're starting small. We're doing it the right way. We're not going all out. We're doing it the financially right way because of this situation with PodCo and what we've seen so many time again is these podcast networks. They get big, and then the energy and the audience kind of doesn't really vibe with what's going on for the long run because let's face it, we all have 800 podcasts to listen to on a weekly basis, and it's impossible to get to them all, let alone mine, let alone Joe Rogan, because he's just hitting them out the park with guest after guest after guest after guest.
What are we doing?
Let alone every other podcast on the planet. And so when the decision of Ned's Declassified and Devon and Lindsey and I forgot his fucking name again, Cookie. I'm just going to call him Cookie Dude because that was his name on the show. It just, their decision to pivot once they were done with the Ned's Declassified episodes, aka the show that was made for children.
What are we doing?
They decided that it was smart to pivot to adult things and try to talk us through some of what they experienced as growing up as adults, aka every episode ended up with basically Lindsey and Devon talking about how they were making out in the trailers.
What are we doing?
How Lindsey was giving him blowjobs on set, how Lindsey ran through the rest of the crew before she got to Devon, how basically Lindsey Shaw was just a horned up teenage girl going through puberty, ready just to suck and make out with any face or other body part of pretty much any boy she could get her hands on from set.
What are we doing?
And those conversations were kind of getting a little awkward. 1, because we didn't want to hear them. 2, because I don't think Devon ever wanted them to get out. 3, because it looked like Lindsey was genuinely enjoying telling these disgusting, kind of inappropriate, kind of shit that we don't really give it. We don't want to know that the cast of Miley Cyrus was all sucking each other off in the trailers while they were filming.
What are we doing?
We don't need to know that. Hannah Montana and Oliver Fred. We don't. Yeah, we get it. Shit happened, but that's not what we're tuning in for week to week. We want to know what your lives are like now. We want to know what's going on with the reboot. We want to know behind the scenes. We don't really. We get it. Lindsey, she needed attention, and we know through now her past and her history of drugs and things, and it's just so the ultimate goal of starting these podcasts was for them to get the shows rebooted. And when the Wizards of Waverly Place podcast started at PodCo, and then I don't know 100%, you guys can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, if the Wizards of Waverly Place, is that reboot because it's now like beyond Waverly Place? They just launched it on Disney Plus, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if that reboot necessarily has anything to do with the podcast, but I'm sure it helps.
What are we doing?
In some way. I am sure the executives who made the decision to reboot Wizards of Waverly Place are fully aware of the PodCo Wizards of Waverly Place nostalgia podcast with like two of the people who we really didn't give a shit about. Selena Gomez was not involved with the podcast at all.
What are we doing?
So it, just weird. But basically, so when that happened, it set off this series of events. And I mean, of course, they're kind of semi-cancellation, like when the whole Nickelodeon documentary Quiet on the Set came out about Dan Schneider, the Ned's kids were on live making fun of Drake and like laughing at the whole situation. So that was kind of gross and disgusting. Their apology for that was clearly scripted and just like PodCo trying to do cleanup and damage control. And so with all of that, and with on top of Disney and Nickelodeon bringing back all of the other shows that people love and cared about as kids, we've got none other than Lindsey Shaw once again pleading her case for what no one other than her and what she is convinced now Devon and Cookie to like just go along with is a Ned's Declassified reboot. And they are dying on this hill in the sense of we're crying. We're crying on Instagram. Listen to this, dude. Listen to what she says. Listen to this. Listen.
Spider-Man can be remade 437.
Listen to what she says. Spider-Man. She says Spider-Man. I don't understand why I don't have
37,008.
I don't understand why I don't have controls here, but what she's saying is she starts off by saying she doesn't understand how Spider-Man can be rebooted 497 million times.
What are we doing?
Right? Spider-Man is what she's talking. Listen to this.
896 times, and Ned's Declassified can't even get reboot once. Not even reboot once for a crappy TV movie. Just let us have a crappy TV movie.
Look at how disgusting.
What are we doing?
Not taking the news well. So, and this upload has also come on the cuffs. I don't know if she dropped this clip before or immediately after PodCo dropping the Ned's Declassified and the Pretty Little Liars, which she hosts as well, Lindsey, podcast from the network.
What are we doing?
Now, we'll get to that news more in a minute, but I mean, her just cackling.
I just don't understand how Spider-Man can be remade 437,896 times. And
because it's a fucking $1 billion fucking franchise, bitch. Like, look up the cost. How much is the Spider-Man franchise worth? Marvel Cinematic Universe, $29 billion.
What are we doing?
Spider-Man, $29 billion. From the toys, to the movies, to the TV shows, the animated series, the everything, the comic books, not every single thing that they do for Spider-Man, except when Sony has control.
What are we doing?
Has contributed to a $30 billion, and that's pretty much an Elon Musk equivalent to a franchise. Ned's Declassified has made a grand total of $35,000 since it's aired. Spider-Man 1 featuring Tobey Maguire has made a grand total of like $90 million since its
What
aired.
are we doing?
You stupid, stupid drug addict of a girl. Look at how she is on the edge. She is on the edge, and I'm not talking Lady Gaga edge of glory. Listen, Devon and Cookie, I apologize. I keep forgetting your name, but you two need to run. Run right now.
What are we doing?
Ned's Declassified can't even get reboot once. Not even reboot once for a crappy TV movie.
Because the minute they give you the crappy TV movie, bitch, they're going to give you the offer of $30,000.
What are we doing?
Because that's how much you're worth. Because they know if they give you any more than 30 grand, you're going to shoot it up your arm, you're not going to show up to set, and you're going to be a PR fucking nightmare.
What are we doing?
Because you do this shit. Why do you think PodCo dropped you? So last week, a few weeks ago, PodCo deletes their entire Instagram, gets rid of all their podcasts, drops them all, and the Ned's Declassified crew comes out and says, hey, we're on our own. We'll be back soon. We don't know when, but basically it's probably just going to become a Zoom podcast that no one fucking watches because, let's be honest, what money do these kids have?
What are we doing?
Listen, no one wants a Ned's Declassified reboot. Stop trying to make that happen. If you guys were serious about getting a new show, if you were serious about getting on Netflix or doing something with Nickelodeon again, the first step in that process is to break yourselves away from Lindsey effing Shaw. Get her out, get her done, get her blocked.
What are we doing?
And then, whether you stay by yourself or go off with Cookie or not, take him with you because for putting him through the awkwardness of having to hear every fucking week about how Lindsey sucked you off in the trailer and you didn't come that one time and she was embarrassed. Putting this man through the ringer for a Ned's Declassified fucking series no one asked
What are we doing?
Do something else. Pitch them anything else. Go to ChatGPT, tell them, write out, just talk to it for 20 minutes. You can do that now from your phone. Say who you are, what you do, why you're doing it, why you're here, and tell ChatGPT to write you a script and tell it to edit it 500 fucking times until it's perfect.
What are we doing?
Until you get someone to say yes. Stop bitching on Instagram. Stop and just leave Lindsey alone. Leave her alone. She is bad. Bad news bears for the brand. Bad news bears for the brand. Bad brand. Bad bears news is what she is. It's written all over her face, and it will never effing stop.
What are we doing?